Hello and welcome. I am Relics, and with me today is Nagatron.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're here today to talk about the Season 1 of the World of Tanks Classic League, which we are both very excited to see starting up. This being the first week of the league, let's talk a little bit about the league rules and divisions before we talk about this week's map. The basic setup for the tournament is a 90-point total for a team, the tier of each tank being the points, so a tier 10 tank is 10 points. There is no specific tier limit. Each week there will be a single battle on Saturdays, to a total of 9 battles over the season, each with a time limit of 15 minutes. Each win is 3 points, draws are 1 point, and a loss is 0 points. Each round has a pre-selected map that the team can prepare for. Top teams for the division go to the playoffs to a total of 64 teams. The winning team of the playoffs get 1.5 million gold split between their members, with various lower place prizes as well. So a lot of gold on the line here. Just entering the playoffs will score a team 800 gold. So that the basic battle dynamics are following the same template of the Absolute Power Tournament, which I absolutely enjoy. It's different enough from Clan Wars to keep the matches interesting, and it breaks away from the standard strategies that clans have been employing on these maps for a little over a year now. One breakaway from the round-to-round of the Absolute Tournament that I really do like is the rotating maps. I think it'll make battles a lot more exciting for each round, and a lot more rewarding overall. And also eliminating the little things like spying on what people are doing, or fishing for replays, etc. for other teams to get that little extra advantage. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the divisions that have been set up. I know you've broken down all 28 of the divisions recently. How are they looking?
Well, it seems like most of the major contenders have been evenly split across all 28 divisions, with on average 2 to 4 fully Tier 10 equipped teams as well. So, considering the fact that 64 total teams advance to the playoffs, with only about half of those slots accounted for, assuming that there's no major upsets, that leaves a lot of wildcard slots up for grabs. This structure really sets the stage for a lot of newcomers to test their mettle, prove to the community that they should not be underestimated. Needless to say, I'm very excited about what's to come here.
Are we seeing a lot of the tournament favorites from the Absolute Power Tournament entering?
Yes, we are. And in fact, aside from the standouts of the last tournament, we're seeing a lot of familiar faces from Clan Wars into this one as well. We've got Gorillas, NDP, SSGS, SG, Red Sky, Aces, FG, and that's just to name a few off the top of my head. None of these teams should really be taken for granted, and I have a feeling that everybody will be taking this league very seriously, especially as the playoffs come around.
Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about a junior-style league, and probably out of the 280 teams that are entering in here, I'd venture to guess a bit less than half of those teams would fall into that bracket. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of teams here that don't have the Tier 10s necessary to really be strong competitors in this league. But I think that this will still benefit them by showing them the level of competition that's currently out there and what they need to do to become a threat in the future. Speaking of which, I would think it likely that we'll see a separation of leagues in the future to provide greater opportunity to a larger demographic of players by giving them options outside of a Tier 10 dominated competition. I doubt we'd see too much bullying going on from the larger clans, and I think it would really encourage the esports in World of Tanks. That seems to be a direction that WarGaming really is interested in going.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about this week's map, Swamp. I feel like this is an excellent opening choice, it being a map that's not in circulation on the Clan Wars map, so everyone is essentially on equal footing, strategically, having to build off their own experiences from standard pug battles. What do you think we can expect out of Swamp?
Well, you definitely hit the nail on the head there. Most teams will be expanding off their previous experience from public matches. In those matches, most teams just turtle up on their side of the map, and while some players move across the bridges to scrap it out, they usually just sit there. In this case, I would say that the one side will be hard-pressed to dig out the other team if they do not cross the northern bridge as quickly as possible. Conversely, the two side will need to shut down that bridge if they intend to attack the other half of the map later in the battle as well. Aside from that, I think we'll see very little action going on through the swamp, as it brings most tanks to a crawl in an exposed position that doesn't really gain a tactical advantage in most instances. As far as the south bridge is concerned, it really doesn't have the same amount of cover once you get across as the northern one does, and should you succeed in that, there's still a vast distance to cover while under artillery fire, and it's probably just not going to work out. These factors make it seem like a far less likely avenue of attack, but Maybe with some more creative battle leaders, they might find it a more attractive option as it's not as expected as the Northern Bridge.
I find it very interesting that even though this is a very small map, which you'd expect to be a lot of fast-paced battling, you can expect the gameplay on it to probably be really slowed down with all these natural choke points.
Absolutely. That's going to be a very important part of this whole thing. Any team that gets a column tracked on either bridge is going to suffer the consequences when artillery comes down on them. There's a good chance that a team can lose half their players to that one maneuver, but in either case, artillery is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting on this map once people settle into their final positions. Pretty much no matter where you go, GWEs and T-92s can splash you out from behind almost any building, and that's going to seriously limit the avenues of attack unless the team is being extremely aggressive and using multiple prongs to support each other as they walk forward.
It being such a new map to clans, I'm predicting that we'll see a lot of heavy defense or turtle strategies that the terrain seems to really allow for. It should be pretty exciting to see how the teams break down those turtles and really pull out the wins.
I agree with you there for sure. A lot of players, and in particular a lot of battle leaders, hesitate to take damage, but oftentimes the advantage gained from a new position is worth more than the hit points lost to attain it. As teams like this gain more experience, they will see that turtling only makes it easier for the other team to control the battle, isolate them, and take them out on their own terms. So I wouldn't expect it to continue too long after these first few battles, where everybody starts feeling each other out and what this high-end competition is really like.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's pregame show. Team captains, please remember to forward your team's replays to Jolly Q email box with your team name and the date of the battle in the subject line. Any we do receive will be forwarded to WarGaming for their highlight reel. Expect shoutcasts for the first round to be coming out over the next week, which you can find in the shoutcast thread on the Classic League section of the forums, or on our YouTube channel, Jolly Q Gaming, where you can also find other World of Tanks related videos. Big thanks to Nagatron for co-hosting with me. Anything else you would like to
add? Just good luck to all the teams out there. I really hope to see some exciting replays coming in the weeks to come.
All right, all you tankers, good luck and have fun.